Hey everyone, it's Steve again, and today's video lesson I'm very excited about. It's something that changed the course of how I saw the market. Being a former competitive athlete growing up, the concept of having a playbook in trading really excited me because in sports and with sports teams, most athletes have a playbook that they study and they use for success. Uh, so, what prompted me to look more into it was a great book that I read called The Playbook, an insider's look at how professional traders think by Mike Bellafiore at SMB Capital. The book came out several years ago, and it is pretty much the Bible uh, on how they train their prop traders at SMB. But let's talk a little bit about if then statements. And if you look on the screen, I actually had it typed wrong. There you go. If then statements and your playbook. How serious of a trader are you? Okay, so let's really discuss what exactly an if then statement is. For each trade, or prior to entering each trade, you must have a plan for each possible price action scenario. Often, folks will go into a trade without any plan at all. Or their plan might be, well, I see resistance $1 away, so my target is $1 away, and I'm going to stay in this trade no matter what until $1. Okay, and that's their plan. All right, and they're not accounting for so many different aspects of price action that can happen along the way, and they get caught off guard and they don't know what to do. All right, so what an if then statement is prior to entering the trade is coming up with an action plan for every price action scenario that will take place, so you are not caught off guard, that you actually know what and where you're going to be doing something. If the stock is going good for you, if the stock is going bad for you, the price action, or if it's going good and then it starts going bad, how you react. So an if then statement is really this simple. If the stock or price action does this, then I am doing that. And I'll repeat, if the price is doing this, then I am doing that. It sounds very simple, but for each trade, you can have two, three, four, five different if then statements based on the trading strategy that you're using. And that's another key concept. Okay. We do not trade stocks. We trade setups, or more importantly, we trade stock strategies. So strategies that work, not stocks. So often I see new members in our room. When I ask them, what is your strategy for this trade that you are in? They cannot answer. They have no strategy. They just think the stock's going to be going up, all right, based on a silly cup and handle, chart padding or something. The stock's been going up, and I want to get in on the move. It's spiking. That's not a strategy. So when I ask them, what is your strategy? Then I ask them, what are you going to do if the price does this? And they don't know. Okay. And that's being totally unprepared. It's like a football team having no playbook and just going out there and drawing plays up in the sand, in the dirt at a professional level. And they're not going to be able to compete. Okay. They cannot compete because they're playing against other professionals that have if then statements already established. And let's face it, in this day and age, the opposite end of your trades are machines, right? 90%, whatever the figure is. And those if then statements are algorithms. In fact, if you look under the definitions of artificial intelligence as well as algorithmic trading, you'll see if then, including in the definitions, because that's how they are programmed. If it does this, then I do that. If it does this, then I do that. All right, so it's very important for new traders to start developing if-then statements and then adding them to their playbook, which we'll discuss shortly. Okay. And then if-then statements are not just made up on the fly as you go or trade. They are part of a pre-existing trading strategy you have in your playbook to use. So your if-then statements should already be in your mind. You know exactly what they're going to be, okay, prior to entering the trade, and that's based on the strategy that you use. So let's take an example of one of my if-then statements, because that might be a little bit easier for me to explain, okay? Most of you in the room are very familiar with what we call the projectile long to VWAP strategy. Okay, I use it, Ray uses it, Greg uses it, several folks in the room uses this strategy. Okay, if you do not know what the projectile long strategy is, there is a video on it in the day trading training vault strategy room. So take a look at it. But you don't need to know the specifics to understand how I'm using an if-then statement for the projectile long strategy. And this is what I have in my mind prior. Now, Ray, Greg, and other folks might have different if-then statements for the projectile long strategy, but that's because every individual has a different trading strategy, a different trading style or thesis, and that's okay. So what I'm talking about here is what I use as if-then statements for the projectile long strategy. So for me, if the price breaks above the 9 EMA and the SMA, 20 SMA, then I will enter long with my stop right underneath the 9 to 20 for a low risk exit. Notice again, if price breaks above, then I will do this. Okay, that's one. Let's look at two. Same trade. If price falls below the 920, then I will exit with a small loss. Again, if the trade does not go my way, then I will exit for a small loss per the strategy. Three, again, same trade prior to entering that same trade. Three, if price rises halfway to VWAP, which is a strategy, but then starts to stall, then I will sell half shares to lock in profits. Again, if price rises halfway, then I will do this. Okay. Four, if price continues to stall or even pulls back, then I will sell remaining shares to lock in profits. Again, if price does this, then I do that. Five, if price rises to VWAP, which is my strategy target, then I will sell all shares. So if the price rises to VWAP, then I will sell all shares. So for that one strategy, projectile long to VWAP strategy, I have 5 different if-then statements that I use, okay, for my trade. So that's an example, okay? And I have if-then statements for all my trading strategy. Now, like anything else, okay, I'm constantly keeping my eye on the market and how conditions and strategies work, which means these 5 bullet points, okay, can be changed only if the market action starts to dictate it on a repeating behavior. And often I can pick that up on some back testing that I do. So that's a good example of an if-then statement. So if we are trading in the trading room and you're in the trade and I ask you to give me your if-then statements, you should be able to rattle off more than 1 or 2. You should have every case covered. Okay, let's go to the next slide. You trade strategies, not stocks. I cannot tell you how individuals just go into stocks and they have no idea what they're doing in the trade, Okay, they have what strategy is, they have no idea what your strategy is. All right. If then statement should cover the potential of when strategy fails also. So you have every scenario covered, what price will do. Okay, I cannot repeat that. If then statements are not just statements for when the stock does what you expect it or want it to do, it's to cover every scenario. Okay, and if you are in a stock or you are in a trade and you are hoping price does this, or you're thinking price is going to go to this level, okay, hope and thinking are not trading strategies. For the projectile long to VWAP strategy that I just mentioned, I do not hope it goes to VWAP. I do not think it goes to VWAP. I have no idea if it's going to go to VWAP, and all the hoping in the world is not going to help me. I just know that statistically backtesting, it has a possible good chance of reaching VWAP. So it's not what Steve thinks it's going to do, it's what's the math's going to think it's going to do. So if you think or you hope, get out of the trade. It's that simple. And you see new traders do that all the time, and they wonder why they can't grow their account, or they wonder why or how they blow up their account. So we've been talking about this playbook, What is your playbook? Do you even have a playbook? All right, you write it down, okay? Put it in, computer form, handwritten form, okay? But how do you create this playbook? Creating this playbook is just not taking Steve's strategies or someone else's strategies or Ray's strategies and then just putting it on paper as your own. No, every trader is different. You can use the concepts of the strategies we use to form your own playbook, okay? So you need to ask yourself at the end of each day, what trading setup made the most sense to you during the trading day? Think about that. What trades have you been in, okay, that made the most sense to you? Now, making the most sense isn't, well, I just profited real big because the stock went from $1 to $5 and I got lucky in it. That's not making sense. Making sense is seeing the price action, seeing how the stock's set up, and then you getting a form of that pattern in your mind as something that if you see again, you might want to consider trading. So ask yourself that at the end of each day, was there any trading pattern that made sense to you? Okay? Any. It could be mine, it could be someone else's strategy, and I do it all the time, even with new traders. New traders will post a trade and I'll look at it and I say, wow, that trading setup makes sense to me. I could care less if they've been trading, one day, 5 years, 20 years. If there's a trading setup out there and it makes sense to me, I'm going to look into it, add it to my playbook, and dive deeper into it to see if I want to keep it in my playbook. That's why you hear me constantly encouraging people, even if they're new, post your trades. Okay. All right. It helps other people, and it could help us now take this to the next level and help you develop your playbook. Okay. So at the end of each day, what trading setup, your own or someone else's, that makes sense to you, and write it down. Get that in your playbook. All right. And then, has this trading setup been successful for you? Are you starting to see that it's just not one time it's been successful, but it's been multiple times it's been successful? Okay. Then you definitely want to add that to your playbook, that strategy. So when you see that setup again, you consider entering it. Okay. With your if then statement. So in your playbook, would you not only put the strategy, okay, that you found, but you also then put some if then statements behind it. Okay. So your playbook would have the strategy as well as your if then statements for that strategy. Okay. So let's take a look at the next slides. Exercise your brain for winning setups. So, Steve, I don't want to do a playbook. I don't need to do the playbook. I have it up in my mind already. Well, no, what we're saying, like a professional athlete needs to study his playbook in writing. Okay. By creating a playbook that highlights your successful trades and strategies, It brands your trading brain to synthesize the most important market patterns for you to study. Okay. That's a fancy sentence, but all it means is you're building your muscle memory. Okay. By studying it over and over. And by studying it over and over, you're developing more screen time. People talk about, well, I've only been trading 1 year versus I've been trading 20 years. Well, if you're trading 1 year, but you're putting in the time, the effort, studying your playbook, you're getting a lot more screen time than, say, someone that already has 3 years worth of trading. So you can accelerate your learning curve and your experience by studying your playbook. Okay. Reviewing your playbook and studying it like an athlete does, you instinctively begin to spot them real time. You don't have to think about it. You'll start seeing these setups. There's no real time thought or hesitation for your A plus trades. Okay. And in your playbook, you will have A plus trades. You'll start to learn the difference between your A plus setups versus lesser setups. Okay. Your A plus setups are those setups that when you see them, man, okay, these are normally successful trading setups for me. And you tend to then should go in with higher share size. Like for myself, on my A plus, shares setups, I'll go heavier on my shares. All right, because I know statistically I have a better chance of winning that trade versus my other trades, I might go lighter in share size. Okay. And that's based on understanding from my playbook which are my stronger plays and which are my weaker plays. Just like a professional sports team will have a ton of plays in their playbook, but they might only have a handful that they consider really strong plays that they'll use at certain points in certain games. Okay. And it's no different with your trading playbook. Okay. Let's look at a recommended reading because we can go through a presentation, but there is nothing like actually reading a book about this topic. And it's called The Playbook by Mike Bellafiore. Okay. Your playbook is a series of archive trade setups that make the most sense to you. Not what makes the most sense to me. That's my playbook. But what makes the most sense to you. Okay. The idea is for you to build from your strengths, the plays in your playbook, and minimize your weakness, anything not in your playbook. Meaning you shouldn't be trading anything that's not in your playbook. And everything in your playbook should have if-then statements. You then, okay, eventually when you start developing a playbook and you're getting confident, you start to break down a bunch of market and data on your trades, and you start creating these A plus statistical setups by back testing them, by back testing your strategies, by going out, because now you're serious about your trading. Now you want to continue to do it. You put some time into trading. You like it. You're getting some success manually creating your playbook. But now you want to take it to the next level, and you get software like the trade idea software we use, and you start learning how to back test. With software like trade ideas we use, you don't need to be a coder because it comes preset filters that's used in very basic English language, not coding language, but you can backtest and create and code your own scans based on your playbook, your setups, your strengths, and eliminate your weaknesses. And before anyone goes rushing out to get trade ideas, we do Zoom screen share it, but it's only a fraction, okay, of the potential trade ideas has. And what we Zoom screen share is pretty much some setups from my playbook, not yours. So when you are ready, you can contact me directly because I can get you a much better price on trade ideas than going directly to them, because we have a personal and a business relationship with the good folks over there. So you just simply direct message me. But eventually, if you are dead serious about your trading, you're going to need to get it. And it's really not expensive. I think I can get you a deal where it might be $100 per month or a little over $100. So it really, you could, the cost of it in one trade per month easily. And those in our room that are using it swear by it. But this isn't a trade idea sales pitch. It's also letting you know that you need the latest technology, because the folks on the other opposite end of your trades are using that automation to create their if-then statements that they are trading against you. And a lot of those folks obviously are institutions and machine driven. So I recommend the Playbook by Mike Bellafiore. It goes into these concepts in much deeper detail, but I think from this presentation I just gave, um, you can get started on creating your playbook. And the best bet is you can ask me questions anytime, direct message me. You can contact me in the rooms. I absolutely do not mind helping you on this concept. So that being said, I hope you guys got something out of this um, presentation.